Well, how you doing? As you can see, I'm back in my normal digs. I have returned to Chicago from a very long trip to San Antonio, Texas. Enjoyed myself immensely. Had a few ups and downs, but for the most part, I really enjoyed myself. Glad to be back in the Shy. Thank you, thank you. Oh, thank heaven for 7-Eleven. I am up way too early. It is about 6 a.m. I woke up at about 2 a.m. for no good reason. Uh, Crashed really hard yesterday, just totally knocked out, and I think I needed it. But how's everybody doing? It's not like I haven't posted any videos during my trip in San Antonio, but it's just not the same. I got my webcam, I got my backdrop, I got my little studio area. I'm feeling it. I love it. So before I left San Antonio, literally, part of me has woken up. Mouth is still trying to catch up, as you can see. Probably need a little more caffeine. Oh, yeah, that's good. Okay. I literally, 2 days before I left, went to the movies. It was like a last ditch effort to just enjoy San Antonio, just enjoy my time there. So I went to a second run theater that I've frequented for many, many years called the Cinemark Movie 16 over on Loop 410. Haven't been there? Check it out. They've done a really nice upgrade to the place. Prices are still very hard to beat. I go on Tuesdays because all movies all day are like $1.25. You can't beat that, even if it is a second run movie. Okay. While I was there, I saw Texas Chainsaw 3D. I saw uh, Gangster Squad, I think it was called. Um, saw some pretty good flicks. And the last two movies I saw, because I usually watch at least two, I don't just go there and get one ticket. I've actually sat there on my days off back when I worked at the hotel in San Antonio years and years ago. On my days off, I would go from open and stay till close. So, yeah, I spent the whole day in the movie theater, which was fun for me. It was cool. I liked it. I enjoyed it immensely. So, I usually get like at least two tickets. I'll see two movies minimum. And the movies I saw were Hansel and Gretel, Witch Hunters, and Mama. I was going to do two separate videos for these movies, but let's just do them here, right now, right? One more jolt of juice, and I swear I'll stop. I made that way too sweet. You know, to my coffee drinking brethren out there, who are they kidding with those little coffee stirrers, those little red sticks that they give you? You can't stir anything with those. I usually get like a fistful of those things and stir it like a mad wizard over a cauldron. Uh, they give you that skinny little stick and you're stirring it. I know why I stir it. I'm stirring it. And I'm basically just drawing pictures in the sugar that's at the bottom. And then I go home and I drink my coffee. It's like, man, I didn't put enough sugar in that. Then I get to that last swallow right about there. It's like, holy jumping monkey. There's about a fistful of sugar in there. It's just like, zing. I'm awake. So, anyways, let me talk first about Hansel and Gretel. Um, Jeremy Renner film from the Hurt Locker. I went into this expectation settings real low because it was a little too hyped for me. And they got a big name star in it, and I thought, there's the draw, the big name, right? So I went into this thing not really expecting a whole lot, but I figured there'll be some visual effects I might be, entertained by. I gotta tell you, this movie was absolutely 100% fun from beginning to end. I had a blast watching this movie. It was in some respects, kind of predictable, but that's okay. It's a Hansel and Gretel. There's not too much. There's not too many surprises you're going to catch from that. They did have a couple of twists on the old tale, you know, and they did throw in some references to the Grimm fairy tales. There's a porridge scene. You have to see it. But all in all, absolute blast. In some respects, it reminded me of the movie Van Helsing, which, as a lot of you know, didn't do too hot. A lot of people were kind of turned off to that movie. I kind of like that one too. That's one I would actually get just because Hugh Jackman's in it, and I thought it was okay. But Hansel and Gretel, I thought was actually better. There was just something about it. It kept me locked in, tuned in, entertained. There was never a time where I was like rolling my eyes, like, oh brother, I can't believe they went there. It was just loads of fun, basically. You got your basic Hansel and Gretel story, two kids left out in the woods. If you know the original story, you kind of think this is what's going on now, but it it has a little bit of a twist to the story, to the original story, which I think was really cool. Um, you have these kids, they beat the witch, of course, and then they grow up becoming very famous, very popular, and very in demand witch hunters. There's all these newspaper clippings of their exploits, and they get hired by this mayor to find a witch that has been stealing all the children from this town. They have an array of very advanced weaponry for their time, machine guns, rifles, grenade launchers, a very, very makeshift stun gun. It's this metal prod with very exposed wires and a crank that they have to kind of wind up, and bzz, and it's. I just thought it was neat, an absolute blast. I loved it. So I will definitely be looking to purchase this movie when it's released. And if you haven't seen it yet, if it's still showing in theaters, then please, by all means, go check it out. Um, I'm telling you, it's just fun. Just go in there expecting to have a good time. That's basically what this movie is. It's just a fun movie. Next up, Mama. Now, this is one I had been anticipating to watch for a long time, and I was a little worried because this one I set my sights a little high on. This one I was kind of like, this has got to be a great movie. Uh, and it was. Let me just say that right off. It was. I was glad that I set my sights high. Um, I'm a big fan of Guillermo del Toro's movies. I really am. I mean, yeah, he did Blade 2 and he did the Hellboy movies. And if you're into those movies, great. I like them, but not as much as the movies that he puts out, like The Devil's Backbone or Pan's Labyrinth or The Orphanage. All of those seem to have a central theme, and it's usually children. He did the remake of Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, which, even though it wasn't a fantastic movie, I still liked it very much. I thought it was really well done. Wish he would have got a different actress. Just my opinion. But not for the little girl, the older chick. Never remember her name. I never cared to remember her name, so sue me. But he still did a good job on that movie, on the remake. So I saw this one coming out, and I had originally seen the short film of Mama on YouTube. It was a short little, maybe 5-minute, 10-minute film. It basically had these two girls. One was backing into a room, wakes the other girl and tells her, you know, mom's home, mom's here. And you could see them panicking and freaking out, so you know there's something wrong there. And they gather their stuff, they try to sneak out of the house, they make a little bit of racket, and out from the kitchen comes this very eerie, creepy, digitally animated ghost of a mother. And it ends pretty briefly, but I was really intrigued by that. And when I saw that Guillermo del Toro made a full-length movie based on this short film, there was no way I couldn't see it. There was no way I was going to miss it. Took my time getting to it, and I caught it in a second-run theater. Hey, score for me. Saw the same movie you did. Paid about a 20th of the price. Woo! I'm always winning. So, yeah, the movie is basically about, starts off with a husband who kills his wife and takes his kids into the woods, into an abandoned house, where he is plotting to kill his children too, and then probably take his own life. Um, this ghostly apparition intervenes and saves the life of the children and raises them. So they're missing for like 5 years until this guy's brother, who has hired people to find them, to find the children, has finally found them, and they're very feral. They're like little wild children now. Um, so he has to slowly kind of bring them back to humanity a little bit. The youngest one is just very, very primitive. The older one still retains some of her former self to where she can communicate fine and stuff. The other one communicates in really broken sentences. And when they move into this home together, you know something's up. They're being visited by this apparition. You see little hints of this being that's still visiting them. Everything from this tune that they hum to them looking off in the distance like they see something that nobody else can see. One scene in particular has their uncle's girlfriend or wife, I guess, walking up a hallway to the bedroom where the little girl is at, and the little girl is playing tug of war with something that's obviously taller than her because the blanket's going up, and she's pulling and laughing and giggling. So from where this lady's standing, she just hears a little girl laughing. She doesn't know there's anything going on. She doesn't quite make it to the room. She walks back. She gets interrupted by the other girl, and she doesn't make it to the room. And the last thing you see is the little girl's feet hanging from the ceiling. I can just like that, right off screen. And she's like, hee hee hee, and she's laughing and being floated around the room. Um, Very cool scenes, very cool story. I had one time spoke to a friend of mine who I said I would love to see Guillermo del Toro do a take on the old Mexican fable La Llorona, which I've heard since I was a child. And because he always has something to do with ghosts, he always has something to do with children, and he always has something to do with children who don't quite make it. Okay? There's always some child who buys the farm in his movies, which is a harsh reality, which I appreciate in his movies. It's like American movies, children get a free pass. Like everything in the world could be going wrong, but this child will be spared. Not in Guillermo del Toro's movies. Someone's going to buy the farm. Some little innocent thing is going to buy the farm, and I applaud him for that because it brings that movie more into a realm of reality. So, what was I talking about? I kind of rambled there a little bit. I'm still not fully awake. Oh, La Llorona. So I always said I would love to see him do a movie based on that story. If you don't know the story, Google it. I'm not going to tell you the story right now. La Llorona, spelled with two L's, Llorona. Llorona, the crier, the crying woman. And I wanted to see him do a movie about that. When I saw this movie, Mama, it's obvious that part of that story worked its way into this movie. This is about as close to a good La Llorona story in a movie that I've ever seen. Oh, I've seen The Wailer Part 2. I've seen, the story of La Llorona and blah, blah, blah. And they're always just not on par. They're not right on point for me. They're a little too over the top, a little too abrasive. This one, which while it isn't a legit La Llorona story, it does borrow from that. It borrows elements from it, and I was really, really satisfied with that. I thought, well, cool. I'm pretty cool with that. Now, if he decides to make a full blown movie based on the story, on the fable, I'm in because, like I said, Guillermo del Toro is a hell of a director, and he makes really awesome movies, excellent movies. Sometimes they're a little too, oh, how can I say this? Like Pan's Labyrinth was a bit more on the fantasy side than on a horror side, but still very strong and very very brutal in some of its offerings. So I still thought the movie was great. And I think just about every movie he does, even the not so great ones, are pretty damn good. So I would love to see him do maybe just a separate story about La Llorona and touch on the actual story, the actual fable of what happened. Show the lady and show her falling in love with the Spaniard and show him marry someone else, and then she goes crazy and kills her kids. You know, that whole thing. Show it from beginning to end, and then bring in that ghostly spiritual side. Don't even bring it to modern day. Don't show this little bit of a story back in 16, 1700s or whatever, and then show modern day 2013. Some people on a camping trip and they're at a river and blah blah blah. That's done to death. Tired of it. Just keep it there in that era. Bring it. That's why I like the movie Exit Humanity so much, because it was like they show the start of a zombie plague during Civil War times, and they stay in Civil War times. They don't show like the consecrated ground and, oh, I adopted this land from my grandpappy, and you know, and oh, look, all the bodies are coming up again. What have we done? Tired of that. Bored. Just keep it in that time era, and I think it'll be an excellent movie. So, anyways, bottom line, Mama, if you haven't seen it, you are missing out on a very, very cool ghost story. And even though it might end on a somewhat melancholy point, it's still a beautiful ending, which you can't say about most ghost stories. It really is a beautiful ending. I won't tell you what happens, of course. That's rude. But definitely check it out. I will be owning that one, most definitely. I might actually get it when it's brand damn new. Who knows? I'm just that crazy. Oh, I can feel the sugar kicking in. No, I'm not going to take another drink. I promised I wasn't going to, and I'm not going to. And in closing, I want to say that during my stay in San Antonio, it was really fun to meet Miss Jamie Sari, J.A. Sari. You all know her. You love her. She's a YouTube favorite. And now I'm back in Chicago, and towards the end of this month, I have the opportunity to meet another YouTube favorite, Mr. Fue Storm. He's going to be here promoting his work, and I'm looking very forward to seeing that and meeting him face to face. And it's kind of like a goal of mine to meet the people that I interact with on YouTube and on Facebook, to bridge that little gap, to get past the digital wall of the computer and meet people face to face. That list isn't a very long list, but there is a list. And as time goes on, I hope to meet more and more people. In fact, Jesse, Midnight Crawler, we had made plans to kind of meet up in San Antonio. Something happened. He couldn't make it. Totally understandable. But I am going to be going back to San Antonio. Maybe then, if either he comes to San Antonio or I take a quick bus trip to Austin. Either way, we'll hang out, talk movies, shoot the shit. You know, that's what I'm talking about. Stuff like that. So I have a few people in mind, a small list. I was supposed to meet DX. You guys remember DX, right? He lives here in Chicago. And I had an invitation to go meet him, but things kept coming up where I couldn't make it over there. So who knows? I may still do that. I don't even know if he's on YouTube anymore. I got a friend request from someone who says he's a friend of his. I need to ask him, is he still on YouTube? Is he still doing videos? Because his videos were pretty cool. I liked them. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, for the time being, I'm back. Here I am, back. So back in Chicago, not back on YouTube. I've been on YouTube. Haven't left. To the disappointment of many, I'm sure. So anyways, you guys take care. Always fun, always a pleasure, always appreciated that you watch my videos. I really do appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. Can't say it any more sincerely than that. You guys are awesome. So thanks so much, guys, for your continued support, and I will be talking to you all very, very soon. Till then, take care.